Hello and welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Anastasiya Lavrina, and today we are delving into the recent developments in the South Caucasus between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Both nations have reached a significant milestone by agreeing on the text of peace agreement aimed at ending nearly 4 decades of conflict. Despite these advancements, tensions persist. Azerbaijan has accused Armenian forces of targeting its positions from Armenia's Sunni province, while Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has publicly advocated for ceasefire monitoring. These ongoing incidents raise questions about the sincerity of Yerevan's commitment to peace. The presence of the EU mission in Armenia further complicates the dynamics with concerns about the potential militarization of the region under the guise of security cooperation. So, is this just another political game in the region with potential external influences at play? The stakes are higher than ever. Stay with us now as we break down the realities behind the rhetoric and explore what this means for the future of regional stability. Joining me today are esteemed guests, Hasan Erel, foreign relations expert in Atasam and journalist. And I'm also joined by Professor Ashfaq Ahmed in the Department of Politics and International Relations University of Sargodha in Punjab, Pakistan. So, dear experts, we're welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Erel, let's start with you. Given the recent accusations by Azerbaijan of Armenian forces targeting its positions from the Sunni province, how do these incidents impact the credibility of the newly agreed upon peace agreement? Are these isolated events, or do they indicate deeper issues in the peace process?
So it's the history taught us that it's a very hard thing to trust to Armenia in the recent history and the longer history. We can tell that. So that's why Mr. Aliyev told the people the other day that it's very hard to trust and depend on what Mr. Pashinyan's sayings. So they need written agreement. So this is the problem in general about trust. Armenia and Azerbaijan were the USSR republics before, but after 1990, it's the things changed, and Armenia was getting closer to Russia. Then Azerbaijan was getting a little bit away from Russia. But now we see that Armenia is getting closer to the West, especially the European Union, especially the France. That's the country that Armenia bought the heavy guns, and also from India. So the 17 article agreement process is, I think, everybody says it's okay. It's now getting very close to be signed, but there's these problems. This the Zengezur passage, as you say, about as Sunik, about the Zengezur in Turkish. So this passage and this security issues are still the main problems. Of course, also the Armenian claims on their constitution, the land claims from Azerbaijan and Turkey. That's the big problem, of course, when we talk about peace. So I'm concerned. This peace process is like a little bit pressured for both sides from the West against Iran, because there's a big war coming closer to Iran from the Israel and the United States. Israel, or especially trying to persuade Trump to attack Iran. So I think this peace process is all about Iran and the West's attitude, West's policies to cut off the Russian trade route, north-south corridor. So I don't believe that there will be a very how can I say, very solid agreement on that.
Indeed, very
From that.
interesting. Professor Ashfaq, how do you think there is a risk that these tensions could escalate into the larger conflict in the region?
Before you talk about the current situation, everything has a background. So you cannot ignore the background. Before this, the recent clash that started on March the 16th of this month, there had been a statement that both Azerbaijan and Armenia, they are going to the peace dropped, that is, or the draft on the peace agreement that is ready. But you cannot ignore the earlier facts. For example, the very same month, the Armenian foreign minister, he visited India, and earlier the Armenian defense minister, he also visited India, and during his visit to India, he had meetings with the Indian Army Chief, General Chauhan, and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. So later on, it was revealed that Armenia is interested in buying equipment from India. So the recent clashes, if you talk about it, they were basically preparing for these border clashes since long, and they are using the facade of pacification when they say that they are ready to negotiate with Azerbaijan on signing the final agreement.
So, Mr. Erel, what should be the regional, including from Turkey, response to Armenians' approach to this particular situation with Azerbaijan and all of those broader aspects you mentioned in your previous answer?
It's actually dangerous. In 2020 Karabakh war, Turkey helped Azerbaijan. Also, Israel helped Azerbaijan in this war. Very developed technical weapons. So Azerbaijan, Mr. Aliyev took back the Karabakh. But that's one thing, and now what's happening in the region is another thing. It can be cause a bigger war. I think it's the now. As I said before, there are a couple of big problems, big picturesque deals on this region.
So, Mr. Erel, I'm very sorry for interrupting you, but saying about the big war, who can be involved in that big war, apart from Armenia and Azerbaijan?
Israel and United States against Iran.
All together in the region of the South Caucasus.
I cannot say how it will be, but there is some kind of tension rooted from there. It's Armenia and Iran were getting closer on this situation in Zengezur corridor, Sunik, and Turkey and Azerbaijan is against these two. But the supporters of these sides are very, in a broad range. United States, Russia, India, China, everybody, Israel. So I'm really concerned about what's happening. It seems that there will be a very nice and kind of peace agreement, but there's these problems which cannot be solved very easily. So anytime we can expect a provocation.
Professor Ahmed, a bit more in details, as I mentioned in the beginning, just recently Armenia and Azerbaijan stated that they finally agreed the draft text for the final peace agreement to be signed between Baku and Yerevan. And after some days, that provocation of the conditional border from Armenian side, therefore, how do you think, is there this game or something else? How we can describe the position of Yerevan at the moment? Do they really need to have the peace agreement with Azerbaijan, or there is something else on the ground?
My colleague, he just stated that Armenia cannot be trusted. Of course, there is a background for this, that Armenia cannot be trusted because, they believe that uh, the liberated areas, the Karabakh, presently known as Karabakh, these areas belong to Armenia, and the founding documents that Armenia has, it also claims that these areas are integral part of Armenia. So, and if you look at and you hear or you read the statements which are issued by the opposition leaders in Armenia, if you hear the statements issued by the Speaker of the Armenian Assembly and the people of Armenia, you will find that they have never accepted that Karabakh is Azerbaijan. Rather, they still believe in the fact that these areas belong to Armenia. So there is this particular mindset which is keeping this conflict alive. And that is the reason that we are having these recent provocation from the Armenian side. And one of the things which I would mention here, that Ayhan Hajizada, the spokesperson or the spokesman from the Azerbaijani side of the Foreign Ministry of Azerbaijan, he has in his statement stated that there are recordings available which shows that Armenian soldiers, they were using light arms and they were using offensive language, while attacking the Azerbaijani side. So that is one portion of your question. The second portion of your question is that whether Armenians are using this as a tactic. Yes, of course, I believe that they are using this particular draft agreement on peace treaty. They are using this as a tactic. Why? Because there are several obstacles, and these obstacles for finalizing of this draft as a treaty has not been overcome. So there are at least four obstacles. The first obstacle is, and three of these obstacles, they have also been shared by Nikol Pashinyan, the Prime Minister of Armenia. For example, the first is that the change in constitution is required to sign the agreement, the final agreement. It requires constitutional amendment in Armenia. The second obstacle is that, which I have already mentioned, and I will be quoting Pashinyan, that the founding documents of Armenia, they also claim that Karabakh is their integral part. So that needs to be changed. The third obstacle, which I would like to mention from Pashinyan, that is that referendum is required in order to finalize the agreement. So these are the three obstacles, and these obstacles so far have not been overcome by Armenians. And the fourth obstacle is that the mindset the Armenians have, not only the ordinary people of Armenia, but the mindset of the diaspora living across the globe, and the mindset of the opposition leader, the mindset of the government officials of Armenia. So that mindset still exists, and that has not and they are not compromising on accepting that these Karabakh is Azerbaijan. So
Well,
until and unless these
that
obstacles
indeed
are not over,
the position of Azerbaijan was also clear, stating that there are some significant changes to be done by the Armenian side, including the referendum, which will bring the changes to its constitution. And the same position was expressed also by Turkey. So, Mr. Urel, speaking about the normalization of relations between Turkey and Armenia, just recently, Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, noted that it's only a matter of time. Is the issue of normalizing relations between Ankara and Yerevan being discussed at the current stage?
I think it's been discussing. So there's I can tell there's an improvement on the problem on the 100 years of this fake genocide claims and land claims from Armenia. So that's the problem with Turkey and Armenia is not friends. So if they can change, which I doubt it, because it's everything is up to it's depending on Mr. Pashinyan. If Mr. Pashinyan goes, the things can change. So if we see this referendum and they say that okay, we don't want any more land, or we don't press all the world about this fake genocide, uh, so it can be a big deal from the side of Ankara. It can be like Armenia can be like Georgia or Russia. Then I mean it's the biggest problem between Turkey and Armenia.
Well, Professor Ashfaq, Zangezur corridor is somehow being perceived in Armenia as a territorial claim against its sovereignty and territorial integrity. However, at the same time, Yerevan, according again to the statements made by the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, is in favor of opening regional communications, because in reality, and they do accept that, Armenia is under blockade at the moment due to the closed borders with Azerbaijan and Turkey. So what is the solution of this, and can the opening of the transport communications in between of the countries help to prioritize peace over any types of escalations in the future?
Again, I would quote myself that everything has a background. So, if this blockade is open, earlier, if you go back to the war that the war of liberation that Armenia and Azerbaijan had, in that particular war, there was reports that they have sent some Indian nationals to fight against Armenian forces, and then there had been reports that some elements from Syria, militants, they were transported from Syria to Armenia, and they were fighting against our Azerbaijani forces. And again, recently there had been reports that Indians, they had been sending humanitarian aids, but that was not humanitarian aid. Rather, there had been some defense equipment which was sent. For example, recently in 2020, it was reported that Armenia and Azerbaijan, they signed a deal of defense procurement, that Armenia will be procuring defense equipment from India, and that worth $2 billion. In 2023, there had been another deal which worth $155 million. And then from 2024 to 2025, there was a third agreement between the Indian government and Armenian government, according to which India was supposed to supply military equipment worth $600 million. And most of the equipment that was sent to Armenia under the gaze of humanitarian aid. So I hope this answers your question.
Professor, indeed, that's very interesting what you're telling about, especially after the latest statement about possible sending of some additional military equipment to Armenia. But it's not about even sending, but to relocate them from Germany temporarily to Armenia. So that's indeed very interesting to observe the processes which we see here in the region. But again, Mr. Erel, with the European Union's monitoring mission, which is now present in Armenia, there are concerns about the potential militarization of the region under the guise of security cooperation. How might this external involvement influence the balance of power in the South Caucasus? Could it serve as a stabilizing force, or might it exaggerate existing tensions?
in my opinion, European Union is nothing to do in there. I mean, the European Union or the Europe, we can tell it, always side by Armenia against Azerbaijan and Turkey. Even if Turkey was a candidate for membership from the European Union, we see that all the time they sided with Yerevan. So I don't think that the EU monitoring, which it has no relationship. I mean, it's all the way far away from the Europe. So they're not trustable from the side of Baku and Turkey. I think Armenia think that taking the West behind itself can help gaining some momentum in the field, but I don't think it will cause a good solution.
So, Mr. Ahmed, more about the external actors. We already heard about the position and probabilities of involvement of the United States of America in terms of its possible escalations with Iran. But what about the regional powers like Russia, for example, which is deeply involved in the situation around Ukraine, peace talks with the United States, but we cannot ignore the fact that Russia has its own interests in the region of the South Caucasus and has its special strategic partnership with Armenia, even though two countries have some challenges at the moment in their bilateral relations. So how you can comment on that?
Prior to the war, the liberation war that Azerbaijan had to fight with Armenia, the Russians and the Armenian, they had very good relations, and Armenia was also part of the collective security organization. But after the war, when Armenia was not supported by a Russian, because a Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, he and other officials, they stated that Azerbaijan is fighting on its own territory. It has not, crossed the Armenian border. So that's the restriction. That restriction is imposed on Russia. If Azerbaijan would have crossed and violated international law, crossed into the Armenian borders, then Russian would have operationalized the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is CSTO. So the point is that because of that particular, claims which Russian government officials made, Armenian diaspora and Armenian government officials, they were not happy with Russia. So they start distancing themselves from the Russian Federation, and now they are moving toward European Union. So my colleague, he has also referred toward this particular point, and you would also find that the diaspora, the Armenian diaspora, which is in France, they were also pressurizing the French government to do something and intervene in this entire situation. And moreover, if we talk about other regional powers, my colleague, he has also referred towards the possible tension and conflict situation between Iran and United States. Let us not forget that Iranians or the Iranian government, it was supporting the Armenian in the war of liberation. And moreover, Russian stance that I have already mentioned, what was their stance? In current situation or the ongoing clashes, you will also find the role of the Greece. Greece is basically building a bridge in Kharkov region, and this bridge is very important from strategic and tactical point of view, because if this bridge is operationalized because near completion, so then Armenians, they will be able to transport their military equipment from far-flung areas to this portion. And moreover, France is also has delivered artillery and other weapon system. For example, the ballistic missile system has also been provided by France to Armenia. And similarly, Akash S-1 or 1S ballistic missile defense system that has also been provided by India. And when I was referring to Ayhan Hajizada's statement that light weapons were used by the Armenian security forces against Azerbaijani security forces, it is worth mentioning that Indians, they have provided sight vision to Armenian forces, which can be mounted on AK-47 and other rifles, and these uh, uh, sites, they can support night operations. They can support covert operation and offensive operation at the tactical level. Moreover, the equipment which has been provided by India to Armenia, that is also that detect heat signature of human body. So even if it is night, these goggles can be used by the Armenian forces against Azerbaijani forces.
Well, dear experts, let's see how the situation will be developed, but now, unfortunately, we are running out of time. Therefore, I thank you both for joining our talk today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. And I would like to remind that today we were joined by Mr. Hasan Erel, foreign relations expert in Atasam, and a journalist. At the same time, all of this time with us, we were joined by Professor Ashfaq Ahmed in the Department of Politics and International Relations, University of Sargodha in Punjab, Pakistan. Dear viewers, thank you so much for watching Inside Politics. My name is Anastasiya Lavrina. Do stay with A News and see you soon.